Hello, hello. Welcome back, me. Again. I feel like I say that every video now. Alright, if you have been keeping up with the IRL Plague of Gripes lore on the channel, you will be mildly aware that I've been having lots of real-life complications the past ever. Like all of it. But more specifically the past, 3-4 months or so. You might be wondering, have things gotten better? No, they in fact got much, much worse. No point even bothering trying to go into it, though. Are things better now? Kind of? Sort of? They're more stable, at least, which is more the problem. Even in the past couple of weeks, we had another ice storm that knocked everything out, and as a result, the internet wasn't functioning correctly. So I haven't been able to do anything. One of the things that I was trying to do in December was I did a bunch of time-lapse recordings of some League of Legends characters. I did one of Jinx that I did not like because I was severely ill at the time, so I wasn't drawing correctly. And I did another one of Vex. Is that what her name is? The little Yordle, the new one. Again, I've done a couple of her in the past. That one turned out okay. Has some weird geometrical and construction errors, but that's fine. I was going to do a sort of review essay with Paige, but I can never get her to watch it. She's been having her own issues as well. It's just been a delight for everyone the past few months. Even people that I don't actually know online that I follow also are having weird real-life issues. Everyone's having lots of fun lately. It's just a blast for all of us, isn't it? Anyways, point being is so many things have come up, I've just not been able to get around to everything. I've been having to handle a lot of real-life issues. We're selling lots of things tomorrow. Gotta take care of that. It's no one's business, of course. It's you don't care either. Just point being, things are trying to get themselves sorted even now. I'm pursuing moving even more intensely than I have in the past, which was already fairly intensely. So maybe things will get better in the future, or maybe they will stay exactly the same, which is often the case with real life. It feels like things never improve, but sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. You can never quite tell what's going to happen. It is a pure delight. Anyways, if you can't tell, I decided to do some Pokemon smut. Yay! That's what you're here for, right? Dark Souls, Pokemon smut, and anime videos that I release once every 3 to 4 years. And then have angry comments for the rest of my life. Yes, excellent. Alright. So, I have been playing through Pokemon Arceus, I think is the correct way to pronounce it. It looks to me like it's supposed to be pronounced Arceus, but Arceus apparently is the correct way. I don't know. It is a question that has been confounding our greatest scholars for the past 3 weeks. Okay, so I've been taking a bunch of notes on it. I'm going to give a very rough review of it. And some general thoughts on Pokemon as a whole. But first, as far as the primary goes, I drew it. Look, it's actually done. I looked up and it was already complete. Apparently, I did not extend the length. I split it up into this video into primary, secondary primary, line work, then zoning and shading and whatnot. And I tried to adjust the time parameters for all of them in such a way that it would be interesting to watch. But you're not watching, are you? So it doesn't matter. You're just listening to my voice like it's a podcast. Why do I even bother recording anything at all? Yes. All right. All right. Let's forget that. Okay. I wanted to draw a Hisuian, I think is the new one. I can't remember all the... That's one of my problems with Pokemon. They have so many regional variant names, and most of them are nonsense. I think it's Hisuian. Zoroark. Zoroark, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know. Just Japan and English. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. But she's pretty. or he. One of the jokes sometimes from the Pokemon parody video is, I don't explicitly state they're all female. And some people are like, wait a second, that QB's a male. I'm like, well, maybe he swings that way. You know, it's his business. Anyways. I really like the cut of this one's jib. I actually was always sort of iffy on the original design. I don't like it too much. It's just so jagged looking. It's in the Pokemon animation. It's one of the Professor's supposed starters. It's fine, but it's just, like I said, it's just so rigid. There's so many triangles, and the way that the hair is like tipped in these very sharp red triangles, pyramids. But otherwise the hair itself is this also one very stiff, rigid sort of shape. It always kind of bothered me. It's good as far as design goes, because you want your designs to be simple enough that you could draw them as basic geometric shapes, but I just don't really care too much for it. It's still more or less okay. This one, however, even though this is a worse design in those terms, because it is obviously not very simple geometric shapes. There's a lot going on with this one, because the hair is incredibly flowy, and it's meant to look very ghost-like. Because the supposed lore of this one is... The typing of this Pokemon is normal ghost, I think? I think it's normal ghost. And the idea is that some humans chased some Zoroarks out into the mountains, and then they died there and were resentful and were reborn or something as ghosts, kind of, even though they still reproduce. Pokemon's weird. It's a weird series. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But anyways, point being is they're supposed to look like kind of ghostly. Kind of ghosty. You know, spookier. Boo. And then you get fucked. No, I'm sorry. Just let's not go there yet. Okay. How to organize my thoughts with this. I wrote down a bunch of stuff, but most of the stuff is actually related to characters, so I guess I'll get that out of the way first. Spoiler warning, kind of? Not really. I mean, there's nothing really to spoil. It's a Pokemon game, so there's not really a story. Especially in this one. Because in this one, it's just... These following monsters are... in some cases, not even running amok. I was about to say they're running amok, they're running wild, they're pants on head, crazy. But in most of the cases, they're not really doing anything. They're just sort of glowing, and they're like, we don't like that. They're probably going to act up. They're going to act the fool here in a bit. We need to fix that. Could you go fix that? And then you fix it, and that's like 95% of the game. And then at the very end, there's still no story. It's like the game opens with Arceus summoning you for some reason. This never explained. This story is almost as bad as Monster Hunter, because they just don't care. There's some sort of space-time rift going on for reasons that are not really explained. I haven't got to the very, 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 very end of the game yet, so maybe it's explained there, I don't know. But for the time being, I am next to the very, very end, where you complete 100% of everything. Oh. And anyways, the game opens, Arceus is like, hello, it's like a Final Fantasy XIV opening. You are like floating in a void, and God summons you through space-time to go to the past, because I guess people in the past are too incompetent to fix the problem for some reason. And God is also a horse. Like, Pokemon's very weird, and Arceus is supposed to be like the god of creation in that universe, but he's just a horse. I mean, not literally a horse, he's like this quadrupedal-looking, weird, horse-shaped being that has like a Optimus Prime mask on his face. And that's it. And he clops his little hooves and whinnies, and you give him an apple, and then he makes a universe for you. Like, I don't know. I'm not particularly impressed with the mythology of Pokemon, if you can't tell. Never have been. But anyways, so he summons you and gives you an iPhone. Like, he takes your existing phone, and because you're your player character is a modern kid, he freaks the fuck out that his phone isn't at his side. Like, you can see in the cinematic, like, it starts floating away. And that's the one moment, like, before then your kid was like, oh, this is weird. But the moment that he sees his phone flying away, he's like, oh my god, oh my god! Like, that's his life. It's floating. What will he do now? Anyway, sorry. His phone gets turned into, like, a better phone that will, like, cut your hand if you hold it. But it's sort of shaped like Arceus, so it's kind of got the horse motif going for it. Which is really just an asshole move, if you think about it. Like, your god is a horse, and it turns your phone into, like, a horse phone that looks sort of like him. And very pretentious. Then again, he is the god of the universe. Whatever. Okay. And the phone is, it should be a plot device, but it never really is. It just sort of beeps ever so often whenever you're like, I should probably stop this monster. And then the phone beeps, like it's confirming, yeah, you should. And that's it. Like, it happens like, 3-4 times the whole game? And it doesn't really show you anything, it just sort of is there. There's a lot of things like that in this game. There's a lot of half-baked concepts where they transparently just did not care at all. It's just there to be there, and that's the end of it. Anyways, that's the story of Pokemon. Just, there's a space-time rift for some reason. You get whisked into the past for some reason, and then you fight some other gods that are like the gods of space and time, respectively, that are from another couple of the games in the series, I think. What relation they have to the horse god, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. And then that's it. Like, that's all that really goes on. There's like one thing that's sort of a twist where the guy that you were... I guess there's no point in spoiling. It's not really a spoiler. Who cares? But yeah, there's like one twist at the end, I guess, if you want to call it that. One character turns out to be someone that you've never met or something. Or he changes his outfit, I should say. So he becomes a quote-unquote different character. I'll say it that way. Like, someone like puts on a tuxedo and removes a fake beard, and suddenly they're a different character design. And I say different character because that's basically Pokemon, which I guess will lead into my complaint about the characters. The characters in Pokemon games are not characters. They're just character designs, and that's it. It's all they have going for them. In a lot of the cases, I can't remember anything about I actually had to write down all their names because I could not remember anything about them. Let me just list all of them off. There's Leon, who's like a little tiny cowboy boy. Like, he wears a cowboy hat. He's very proud of Cleavor, which is the Pokemon that he's the warden over. And wardens are just like people that hang out near them and then give them food, from what I gather. And that's pretty much it. And I'm searching for more to say about that, and it's just not there. They're just people that hang out near those Pokemon and give them food. That's it. And they seem to exert some sort of control politically around the area, even though the people that live in the area just got there. So why it's treated as being this reverent historical thing, I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, he is a tiny cowboy boy. He's a little bit arrogant. That's about it. And I'll go ahead and head this off at the past. All the characters in the game almost are just references to prior characters. Again, quote-unquote characters. Just, people that have character designs, look sort of interesting, and barely have a personality. That's Pokemon characters. So, like, Leon is some reference to some other Pokemon, or this other cowboy-themed Pokemon guy from another game. I don't care. All of them are like this, so if you're going to list out, this is actually a reference, blah, 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 I don't care. It does not matter. Like, referencing another meaningless straw man character is not a character. Anyways, that's Leon's character. He's a little cowboy boy. My is like this sort of, she's sort of teen gothy in a way, I guess. I think she gives you the ugly deer at the very, very start of the game for you to ride around on. I think. I don't remember anything about her character. Even as far as her personality goes, I can't really place anything unique about her. She's just sort of the Qui-Gon of the group. She just exists. She's a person. There is Akari, who is not your rival, because Pokemon games don't really have rivals anymore. They have bitches. There's you, and then there's the bitch. And Akari is the bitch. Not like literally in the sense of female bitch or anything, but more just the subservient one that doesn't do anything. It just exists to try to make you look good. And in Akari's case, she's not even really in the story at all. Ever so often, she'll sort of appear and make a weird face and talk to the professor briefly about how great you are, and then that's it. That's all she does. She doesn't have a personality. And I kind of imagine that if you character swap it like I played it as a boy, if you play as a girl, which I might recommend because the costumes are ugly as fuck in this game. Like, really terrible. Fashion's awful in this game. And apparently it's just as bad for the girls, but at least then, like, there's kimonos, which look sort of vaguely feminine in a way, so maybe it's a little bit more fitting. I don't know. It's probably just as bad. Anyways, I imagine the guy says the exact same thing. I don't know what his name is supposed to be. There is Professor Leventon, who is odd as a professor because he's sort of a loser. He does capable things as far as Pokemon is concerned ever so often, but otherwise he is just sort of confused and lost, and he's not capable. He can't catch Pokemon. He's sort of a doofus. He's very uncertain of himself. He kind of looks like he shuffles his feet as he tries to order at Wendy's, and then whenever the clerk asks him what he ordered, because he's too quiet, he would like mumble and then walk away, and then never come back to that Wendy's ever again. He looks like that, and he sort of acts like that. And that's it. That's the professor. He does have a character. Like, I could describe him, so he is a character. So that's more than I can say for the other ones. He's just very strange. There is Celine, I think, who is the lady behind the counter that gives out your star rankings. She also does not really have much of a character. She is very stern, though. They make it very clear that she is humorless and strict, and there's one scene where for some reason there's a little worm Pokemon in her office for no reason, and she like falls out of her chair because she's scared of worms. And then it's never brought up again. So there's that one sort of moment where they try to paint her as being cute or vulnerable, maybe, in some way? I don't know. Her face is weird. The first time I saw her was on someone else's stream, and I thought it was a guy. Just because she has like no eyebrows and barely any mascara, and she has a very stern-looking face. I thought it was just a gangly dude. It doesn't matter either way. It just, point being is that her design, her physical design is kind of unusual, and she doesn't have much of a character like the rest of them. There is some lady in the basement named Sanqua. She has pretty hair, and I think I saw her like in a story-related thing once, maybe. I can't remember anything about her. I just wrote her name down because I liked her hair. I thought, oh, she looks pretty. And that was it. There are two, I guess, main characters as far as the story is concerned. There's Adaman and Arita, I think is how you pronounce their names. One is a guy that leads Diamond. One of them's Pearl, one of them is Diamond. It doesn't actually matter. And I think Arita is the Pearl one. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. They're sort of treated as a rivalry because their clans are at odds, because they can't decide whether Sinnoh is the god of space or the god of time, even though they open up by saying it controls space-time. So you would think that they would both be aware that it's the same thing. And I don't expect them to have an understanding of relativity or, modern understandings of physics. so they would not be aware that space-time is actually the same thing, and that gravity is just a result of relative time slowing down or speeding up, and it being an illusion because we're intersecting the same object because our relative position and speed is changing as a result of having mass. I would expect them to understand that. They're just dumb hicks from the past that are afraid of worms. I have limits to my expectations for them. Anyways, there isn't much of a rivalry there. Edaman is the guy. He is sort of reasonable, and I would hesitate to call him wise, but he is capable for the most part, makes fairly reasonable decisions, and is supportive. Pretty capable leader. Rita, for whatever reason, the game is overtly basically says she's not really good at anything. And she isn't prepared to be leader. She never really wanted to be. She still acts like a little kid. But she's also very hyper-aggressive and very bigoted, which is very unusual to me. Like, towards the other clan, she is extremely bigoted, and even whenever it comes time to put their differences aside, she's very hesitant to do so for really no reason. So even though it's like, which one will you choose? She's kind of shitty. I don't know what's going on with that. Anyways, that has a resolution at the end where they're both like, maybe our clans are dumb and maybe conflict is bad. Maybe we should all hug Pokemon, just that shit. So they're sort of characters. There's an old lady called Kalaba. She's kind of an old bat who's stuck in her ways and she doesn't actually do anything. When you're introduced to her, she's trying to figure out some tablet that was stolen, and instead of just going and getting the tablet or even listening to you as you volunteer to get the tablet, she just stands there and looks at the hole in the wall until you go get it and bring it back. And she's like, oh, you got it back. Oh, very good. Oh, and then she dies. No, she doesn't actually die, but she does some other... No, she doesn't do anything. She shows up a few times, so... Which is sort of like dying. If you think about it. Which I care not to. Anyways, she's old. That's her character. She's old and she sort of changed, I guess. There is one memorable character in this game, and it's memorable for the wrong reasons, and that is Melly. Or Mei. It's not Mei. Sorry. Melly is a... He has sort of the same hair as... Sanqua, the lady that I mentioned that's in the basement that isn't actually in the story. And his introduction was rising up out of a stairwell. And for a brief second, it's like, oh, that's a pretty lady. Is that the same lady? Oh, wait, is that a man? Wait, what's going on? Why does he look like an idiot? And it turns out he looks like an idiot because he is an idiot. He is the overtly moronic character. He is extremely arrogant. Like, he thinks he's better than everyone. Like, that's the only thing to his character. He is a bigot. Like, he's part of Adaman's Diamond Clan, I think. And he hates the other ones. And even Team Galaxy, who you're supposedly part of, he despises them. And by proxy, he despises you. Even though you're not actually from there. You're just someone that landed there like a week ago, but he hates you regardless. Like, he's just a horrible, horrible person. And consistently, he will show up and shit on everyone. And in many cases, actively block you from trying to succeed. By impeding your progress, stealing torches that light a path that actually causes people to be endangered. And he has some sort of weird eugenics view of the world. Where he thinks that he believes in this weird survival of the fittest where everyone needs to be tested, but only so long as he's the one choosing who gets to survive. Like, he has to choose what happens to test other people. And if you do anything that strays from his personal vision, he gets really upset. Like, that's his whole character, is that he's just a dumb piece of shit bigot who serves no function other than to impede your progress. And all the characters like, oh, Melly, anytime he does something stupid. And that's it. And he never really gets a comeuppance, and he never shows any humility. He's just a shitty person throughout the whole thing. And anytime that your characters have to deal with him, they just sort of, like, humor him. No one ever calls him out on it. It's kind of frustrating in a way. Anyways, that's him. Like, he's probably the most memorable character just because he's such a piece of garbage. There's another lady, Polina. She has a Growlithe. She's very forgettable. She's protective, I guess. She's there for a few scenes because she's taking care of a Growlithe that ends up becoming a new lord because he sees his ghost dad who drowned in the ocean or something. She hangs out with Iskin, who at least does not look like an anime fuckboy. I made sure to write that down. Because whenever I first saw him, it was doing the slow pan up, and I was like, oh, here we go again, another anime fuckboy. And it wasn't. It was like having a male VTuber reveal on Twitch. You're just waiting for the fuckable anime fuckboy to show up, who all have the same exact face as one another. And it wasn't. He actually looks like a unique person, which was amazing. But his whole character is that he's very timid and he's afraid of everything, unfortunately. So even though he looks sort of unique, he doesn't look cool. He just looks interesting to me. But beyond that, he's just afraid of everything, and he doesn't want to do anything. And he gets like one or two scenes where he's afraid of Pokemon and afraid of doing things, and then that's it. Like, again, these are all Pokemon characters. They are not characters, they are toys that show up for like 5 minutes to do something, and to probably appear in the anime at some point where they can do real business, because that's Game Freak's whole business model. They don't actually care about the games, they just care about making the games to keep people interested in the anime so they can keep pumping out anime bullshit. Anyways, that's that. There is one of the wardens. There's one of the wardens called Sabi, who's just a young girl, and although all the characters are like pandering nun characters, she is also a pandering nun character, but she is a precious baby. I really like her because she has like green hair, she's short, she's very energetic. She does have this cute thing where she's like do I really like hanging out with you, or am I simply bored? And she kind of phrases things. Every time that she speaks, she tries to phrase things in that way. There's nothing deep to her at all. But her little mannerisms are very cute, and her design is cute. That's it. This is like my weakness character, I guess. Not weakness as in, oh, that's my... Just as far as all these characters that I'm complaining about, I'm like, yeah, I still like her. She's nothing, but I still like her. She's nice. Oh, there's a Rizu, who is the current pornography champion of this game. Yeah, she's a pornography champion in this game. I'm gonna mince words about it. She is, I think she's supposed to be a warden, but I can't remember what she does. Her real job is being a hair cutter. She says that she's gonna double dip and cut your hair at the same time that she's doing this other stuff, and she's just so busy, but she spends all of her time just hanging out, cutting hair. I can't remember for the life of me what her actual job is supposed to be. Her real job is to look incredibly hot and have a really attractive personality, cut your hair, and to just be generally pretty damn cool. She's sort of the cool older tomboy character, I guess is the best way to describe her. Again, there's not much to her character. She's pretty cool and she's hot. That's it. She's got some big ass thighs. That's my actual weakness character. That's it. All right, but that's it for her. There's a guy named Garrick. Oh, right. Another warden. He's like the one that does the bird. He doesn't wear a shirt, and I guess he does CrossFit, and he climbs mountains. He's there for like 5 minutes. He exists. That's pretty much it. There is Ingo. Ingo is actually, I know this, he's actually a time traveler. He's someone else that got pulled out of time by Arceus for some reason. Maybe it was an accident, which makes it unclear whether or not you being pulled through was an accident. I don't know. It's just killing me not to... I don't care. Who fucking cares? But he is from another game where he was like a boss of some sort of battle train Pokemon. I don't know. And I only mention him because he's pretty cool. Like he's an old man, an old gentleman who does train conductor things. He does cool little poses. He's pretty supportive. He challenges you without being an ass about it. He's just, he's just a swell guy. I like him. I wrote down Ingo rules, and that's it. That's all there is to him. Oh yeah, there's like the Team Rocket of this game, who are Charm, Clover, and Coin. They're kind of cute. Like one of them, at least. I think it's can't remember. Coin? No. I think it's Clover. Whoever the sort of younger, black-haired pigtails one is, she's kind of cute, I guess. They're cute but completely pointless. They sort of behave like rivals, but they only have like 2 or 3 scenes, and they show up basically just to introduce a minor problem that causes other things to happen. They're like living MacGuffins that exist to be annoying. And after they are annoying, they just leave the scene, and they're done. That's it. They exist only to service the plot in very minor ways, and then they vanish. And they apparently live out in the middle of nowhere because they don't like their clans for vague reasons. They complain about the clans being goody-goodies that help people or something. But they want to be bandits. But they're still like living out in the cold and starving to death. And they have like 1 or 2 Pokemon each. And then at one point they steal a Growlithe because they want to raise it to be the new lord so that they can control the area or something. And it's basically just to create the conditions for the other Growlithe to show up and do his transformation. That's it. That's all there is to this. I don't even, like, I'm wondering, why am I even reading out these characters? You don't care. I certainly don't care. I'm just trying to point out that these are not characters. Like, Pokemon is it's a series that has almost nothing to it. It is just so effervescent. I don't know. Bare bones. It's like Zoroark itself. It's like a series that died and became a ghost somehow in an unspecified way. And we're kind of just watching it float around. Anyways, back to the NPCs, I guess. There's Volo, who is the blonde merchant guy that doesn't want to do his job. He's apparently a merchant, but he spends most of his time trying to be an archaeologist, I think is his character. And he gets a lot of screen time, but he sort of just shows up to also further the plot in various ways. He was actually showing up so much, I suspected him of being a villain early on. Because I was like, why would they be trying to establish this character so much unless he was going to do a heel turn and betray you in some manner? Because the game doesn't have a villain at all. Like, you just show up and fix problems by making Pokemon calm down, and then the game's over. And Volo was like the one lead where I was like, well, something can happen there, I guess. And it just never does, so whatever. Kamado is the sumo leader guy that leads Team Galaxy or Galactic, whatever it's called. Galaxy Team. He is the heel turn in a sense. It's revealed later he doesn't trust Pokemon because Pokemon stampeded through his village when he was a kid or something. And even then he's like, well, all right, I'll trust you. Battle me once though. And then you battle him. And he's like, oh, okay. All right, we'll just do whatever you say. And then that's it. That it doesn't really go anywhere. It is funny that he spends all this time like grooming you, not grooming, but just like raising you up to be their savior, and then right after you're done saving them, he's like, okay, no, we don't trust you, get out. you're banned from this village just because I suddenly thought that it was a little bit weird that you showed up at the same time, which is something that we knew right from the beginning, but I'm going to act on it now. It's just a late, like, third or fourth act turn in the story to try to make something happen at all, and it doesn't go anywhere. His distrust of you is ridiculous, though. And he also abuses his underlings, apparently. Like, he does sumo moves to everyone around him. I guess because the Japanese think sumo moves are funny. I don't know. I don't know. The Japanese cannot really write video game stories well most of the time. Especially when they don't care about their own series. Barring certain games, it's so weird. Like, Japanese games are like amazingly written because the one dude that was in charge of writing the game is a genius, like a savant that's really tired of doing things the quote-unquote correct way, and then everything else is just pure garbage. Like, just a schlock. It's amazing how there's no in-between. It's like, it's either genius or it's just poo-poo. Very weird. Anyways, after he, like, quote-unquote betrays you, he doesn't really. The whole town, I notice, like, you are escorted out of the town, quote-unquote, and all the townspeople, like, gather around. It's like, oh my goodness, is it true? And I'm like, what's true? Him just saying that it's weird that I showed up at the same time? Is it true? Like, I never liked him anyway. And, like, there's several townspeople that are like that. And there's one, like, that stands next to the item box as you leave the gate that says shit like that. Not, I never liked him anyways. It was like, I never trusted him, or it's something like that. And I made sure to, like, look over at her. I think I even took a screenshot. I was like, I'm going to remember your fucking ass. Not that it matters. You can't do anything to him. If I could. Ooh. It's just very strange the way it was written. Like, the whole town thanks you for your efforts. You're the only reason why anything good happens. Even at the very start of the game, you are given this quote-unquote impossible task of capturing 3 Pokemon at the same time. 3 Pokemon! And they even make a point of, no one's ever done that before. No one's ever caught 3 Pokemon at once. And I'm like, you guys just pointed out that you can capture Pokemon when they're not looking by just throwing a ball at them. Are you guys telling me that you've never thrown a ball 3 times? Like, no one's ever gone outside and just thrown a ball, hit a Pokemon in the head, captured it, then done that 2 more times, and then just went home? In the entire history of humanity, as far as you know, no one's ever done this. That's how bad it is. Like, Pokemon games have always had this problem of, like, they infantilize everyone within the story because they need a reason for this 10-year-old baby that can barely walk without shitting his pants because he's a fucking infant to save the world in some capacity. So all the adults have to be completely worthless. They all have to be idiots. Pokemon always does this. So in this case, it's the same thing. Everyone is incredibly incompetent. They have no idea what they're doing. Also, I will point out that in every single one of the games, you always have to fill out the Pokedex by, like, we need to learn about Pokemon. Even though this has been happening for apparently like the past 10 billion years. So they should have filled out the fucking Pokedex like a hojillion times over by now. But Pokemon is just another one of its weird things. There is Kagita. She's supposed to be a reference to another porn character. She's technically a Pokemon character, but she makes her living doing pornography on Roll 34. The one that is Cynthia, I think her name is. She has blonde hair, has some weird, like, black and white seed things in her face. She's the mommy Dom character. She's sort of implied to either be her from the future, which I kind of doubt, or is one of her ancestors, even though the merchant guy also sort of looks like her, so it's almost like implied they're related, or they're banging, maybe? I don't know. She exists to exist. She just sort of shows up at the last second of the story to exposit some very loose details. She heard that there was a prophecy or something. Like, I'm That's basically what she says. She doesn't know. Your character asks, like, well, do you mean this? And she's like, I don't know. My ancestors just gave me the vaguest, shittiest information possible. Do with it what you can. Which basically just comes down to go to some lakes and do some minor tasks for some dumb little flying legendary Pokemon or something. And then that's it. So she exists. She's another reference character that is referencing another character that doesn't have a character because it's Pokemon. And also, lastly, there's the cook, whose name is Benny, I think. The one that's always like potato mochi, or however it's pronounced. Apparently, for some reason, Japan really loves characters that like crank their love of one specific food up to 11. And in this game, it's potato mochi. Like everyone's obsessed with it. From what I'm told, in real life, potato mochi is kind of mediocre, and it actually kind of tastes bad, and it's shitty. Like, it doesn't sound appealing, but everyone in this game is obsessed with it. But anyways, he ends up being not really a bad guy. He's just like, ooh, it turns out I'm like a ninja or something. I'll Pokemon battle you. Oh, you beat me. All right, bye. And that's it. That's it. That's all the characters. There's probably like one or two I didn't catch, but you get the idea. They are not characters. This is not a story. There's nothing going on in these Pokemon games. Just, there's a vague threat. It's like Monster Hunter. There's a vague threat. Like in Monster Hunter, it's monsters are being weird. What is it? Oh, an elder dragon is like chasing them, or it's trying to fuck or something. Go kill that. Then you kill it, and then it's over. And it's that plot every single game. And in Pokemon, they have the same problem. They don't care about the plot at all. It does not matter. They don't give a shit. So whenever a new Pokemon game rolls around, don't get excited for the plot. You're not going to find anything in it. It's nothing. Don't get excited for the characters. Get excited for the character designs, because those can be stolen and used to make pornography of them if they are cute. And a lot of Pokemon characters are cute. Unfortunately, a lot of them are also underage, so let's avoid that. But thankfully, most of the ones that actually are, the hot ones, are actually implied to be of legal age either way, so. Anyways, that's a problematic discussion I'd hope not to get into either way, but it is Pokemon, so here we are. And I did make that one video, my one video that I made. So that's all the characters, and that's my point about Pokemon's writing. It does not exist, I'm not impressed by it, it's stupid. The characters are the same way, don't care. Also, I forget, this is the first thing I wrote down. The boxes don't have an organize function. Like, whenever you capture a Pokemon, it goes into your boxes. There's like you get more as you level up or whatever. And you end up getting like, I don't know, like 50 or 40 or something. They're all labeled like box 1, box 2, box 3. There's no button to auto-organize your Pokemon in any way. You have to do it by hand. So if you're like me and you just caught a bunch of random Pokemon, and then at the very end of the game, you're like, okay, how do I organize this garbage? Because I'm going to start worrying about getting shinies and that sort of shit. You just have to do it by hand. It's a nightmare. And I had to do it by hand. I had to go in and rename them all like, this is 1 to 30. This is 31 to 60. And put all the Pokemon one by one into each slot. It was a nightmare. I did not much care for that. Anyways, whatever. I have good things to say about the game, though. Lots of good things to say about the game. I realize I'm running out of time, because I'm looking down at my timeline and realizing, oh my goodness. This is probably the best Pokemon game that's come out in a long time, and it's primarily because, as I've just gone over, I haven't even gotten to the mechanical things. Pokemon has lots of problems. And it has lots of problems because it keeps doing the same uninspired thing over and over and over again. Because even back in the 1990s, I remember whenever Red came out, I was like I think I was a freshman in high school, or I was in my last year of middle school or something like that. I played Red briefly, then years later I played X and Y. I think I may have played Sword and Shield. I don't think so, though. And then I played this one. That's pretty much it. That's my experience with Pokemon. I've never been impressed with it. I have emulated a couple of them, I think, just to see what was going on. I've watched people play them before. Again, not really impressed by them. But the games have basically been the same exact game since Red, more or less. Like, they do very, very minor improvements, but they don't try to fix overt issues. I was actually on Pat's stream the other night. This is one thing I sort of have been doing work-related, is doing some streaming, although my internet has been so bad. I'm kind of surprised I was able to do it at all. But we were discussing the fact that sometimes we were talking about Monster Hunter. There will be problems inside of a game's design, and they'll just keep making sequels, but they'll never fix those design issues. Primarily because they just never really get past it. They're like, well, we need to get this out the door. So there's not time to like make an entirely new game design document that centers around fixing everything in the prior game. And people are going to demand the same experience, but a little bit different, so that contributes as well. So as a result, a lot of game series stagnate in that way. But more importantly, whenever another company comes along and they try to quote-unquote fix the game, it will be because they like the game as it is, but there's like one or two things that they did not care for. So they'll make the same exact game, but a little bit worse, and they'll include all the problems that the game had except for like one. And sometimes it'll be a problem that wasn't actually a problem. Excuse me, I'm trying to talk too fast because I'm trying to get through this as fast as possible. I think if I run out of time at the end of this video, I'll just throw up the time lapse of the other things that I drew, since those won't be videos anyways. And here I never do this. I always think about adding in like some sort of texture to the drawing, and it never really looks right, so I play with it for a bit. And I keep a little bit of it, but anyways, that's what I'm doing right now. So in this one, the game is more or less the same, except it does some things different. Mainly the fact that the game is a little bit faster in the sense of since the battles are out in the overworld, which they always should have been, aside from like the early games, of course. You can get in and out of them very quickly. Because they're organized the way that they are, the way that time works is a little bit different, which has always been a huge problem in the way that the combat is designed in Pokemon games. Catching Pokemon is a little less obnoxious. Getting hold of shinies is a little bit easier in some ways. It's probably not the easiest it's ever been, but it's probably one of the more gratifying ways. There's also Megas now, so you can actually combine like two different rarities. Like Megas are just really big versions of them. They're not the Gigamax, whatever the hell the term was in the prior one. They're not those. They're just the same model, just bigger, which has resulted in lots of giant mommy Lopunny sort of meme pictures. So yeah, there's just a lot of accessibility things going on with this game that make the game way less annoying to have to deal with. So I would say it's probably the best Pokemon game they've ever made up until this point. Which sounds like high praise, but I don't have a very high opinion of Pokemon games. Like, they're usually terrible games. Like, they're the only thing that are... Pokemon games are the only thing that are really like Pokemon games, aside from one or two other studios that have tried to make something that is somewhat similar. But as I just mentioned, they're just emulating the same problems. Like, they don't make any real attempt to improve. They're just trying to replicate the formula as they see it to try to emulate the success that Pokemon has, but the style is usually uglier, and the games don't really improve in any meaningful way, and they usually introduce more annoying concepts. I forget what the one was that released on Steam that went nowhere, but it also had that same problem where it was just a very ugly game, and it also had, like, I think microtransaction problems. But anyways, yeah, this is just the first one that's sort of okay. Arceus is a game that is good, but it is a game that they should have made 10 or 15 years ago. Visually, I don't mean like this exact game 15 years ago. More just, of course, like this game does not look very good. It's very antiquated technology because it's Game Freak and they just don't know what they're doing. It's ugly in that respect, not very good looking for a modern game. There's no excuse for that at all. Like, all their problem with Game Freak, they always pump all their money into the anime and into merchandising and things that really don't matter. And they completely ignore the games themselves. And it's been clear ever since they made Red that they just don't care about the series. It was just something that took off, and this is the consequence of it taking off. And that's it. That's the way the series has always been. But this is just one that should have existed a long, long time ago. Like the things that they're doing now that are being seen as like, whoa, this is such a radical change. It's not a radical change. It's just a basic design change that should have happened 20-something years ago. If they had the technology then to do that. It should have at least happened 10 years ago. The fact that they're just happening now, like, I hope they advance way more than they did with this one. Like, the series really needs to radically change. And if this is their baby step, let it be their baby step. If internally they see it as being a radical step, because in some ways they're treating this as a spin-off and they're going to ignore it in the future. If that's the case, then get fucked, Game Freak, because you got some explaining to do, my friend. But I've never really liked Pokemon. I enjoy exploring the characters, and here we go, final picture. I'm going to talk a little bit over this, so at the very end I'll just tack on some time-lapse footage that I had from the other drawings that I did not finish. So you'll get a bad Jinx drawing that I was making whenever I was very ill and not drawing correctly. And then you'll get a Vex image, and I'll show those two as well. And then I'll show I'll top it off with the final of this picture. Anyways, I've always disliked Pokemon. Even whenever Red came out and everyone else in school, whoa, Pokemon, you want to play? I never bought it. Someone loaned me their version of Red. I never liked Pokemon. And Gen 1, because they weren't fuckable, right? Actually, sort of. Because in Gen 1, like everyone always compliments the Gen 1 starters, I never liked the Gen 1 starters. They all look like the same Pokemon. Like if you actually take their pictures and like put them next to each other, they all had the same exact weird turtle head in a different color. And they have like slightly different bodies. Like they're good designs, I just don't like them. So the people are like, whoa, legendary design. No, I don't know, just they don't really impress me too much. But anyways, their designs actually did get better over time, then they got worse, and now they're getting a little bit better. It's very strange. Their internal design team, I think I actually did some minor research on this once upon a time, and it seems like, to me, from my perspective, they sort of peaked with black and whites during that era, and then they sort of wobbled a little bit, and then they went way downhill, and now they're sort of creeping their way back up, but not doing a particularly good job of it. And that's in terms of not only the art direction, but, just design of the games, etc. They've always done like band-aid fixes to the design of these games. They need way more of an overhaul. Let me complain about my general disdain for the Pokemon combat, because that's probably the biggest portion of Pokemon, and I never really talk about it. I just sort of make the memes because haha, hot Pokemon. I'm not saying these are necessarily the wrong decisions to make in regards to how Pokemon works, but I just don't care for them. So, if you're like, well, the game wouldn't work if you did this, I know, I'm just saying that I don't care for it personally. Alright, so, the way that Pokemon works is that it's turn-based, but it also is in a great big team. You get like 6 Pokemon, right? And as a result, if you actually had like big 1v1 encounters, it would take forever for an actual Pokemon match to resolve. So as a result, Pokemon sort of centers around the whole rock, paper, scissors elements of the elements countering one another. And over time, of course, they've added more and more of them. I think the latest one was Fairy, I think. And of course, a lot of them get dual typing. In one case, Arceus, I think, can switch between all of them now in this game, even though there's no multiplayer. So that is sort of the predication for why I don't like the combats. Because I don't know that much about competitive. Like my joke about you think people like this shit because of Smogon is somewhat accurate. A lot of Pokemon just comes down to sweeping, I think is the term for it. Where there will be one character at the top of your roster that is designed to try to kill everything on the opposing team in one shot, if it can. So it'll often be something that has like a swords dance or something of that nature, just a general buff that makes your character way overpowered. It'll have a good typing that can cover as many of the meta options as possible while sort of ignoring the non-meta options. Like no one's going to build to, fight Bug, for example. And speed rules everything in the older Pokemon games. And even in this one, in Arceus, it has the same issue. In the older games, if you have a character that has like 200, if you have a Pokemon that has like 200 speed, and your opponent has a character that has 201 speed, then you're going to get outspeeded on every turn, and as a result, you're going to lose, because that character is just, keep calling them characters, that Pokemon is going to hit you with whatever move the opposing player has that's going to one-shot your guy. And even if they bring out another character that is opposed to your typing that you can't really hurt, because, of course, that's supposed to be supposedly how the game is designed. You'll, baton pass, or you'll U-turn them or something, and then just bring in something else that can one-shot them. Or you'll bring in something else that can take a hit and build up a bunch of stacks of a buff, and then baton pass them back to something that can act as a sweeper, and then you'll just keep doing that. And you're both enacting the same exact plan. It just comes down to a game of, can you one-shot kill this enemy? And if you can't, then you basically can't kill that enemy at all, just about. And there's a lot of moves in the game that just serve no function whatsoever because they just don't really come up otherwise. Like, you can make, in certain games, you can do something like focus on environmental damage, or like put rock splinters into someone and do a dot that lasts several turns, and to sort of play a defensive strategy. There are things to do like that, but I just don't enjoy any of them. Like, it's such a slog. And many of the matches just come down to, I had this one trick where, I guess I shouldn't bother getting into all the particulars, but it will just come down to one Pokemon just having one little trick that you didn't think about, or your team was not made to oppose that one thing that they do. So as a result, you just can't win against them. Like, even in competitive matches, supposedly, it's extremely common for the final group of people, of human players, to all have the exact same lineup. Because all of them have mathematically deduced, this is the perfect speed that you need on all these characters. This is the exact meta matchup that you're going to be going up against. These are the safest picks. So as a result, this will be the safest counter picks, and they'll just leverage all that together to make a quote-unquote perfect team, and they all look like the same team, and they all do the same thing. And often it just comes down to which one of you won a coin toss on speed, or which one of you missed an 85 accuracy move, or it's something like that. It's a very unsatisfying combat system to me. Turn-based combat does not work very well with one-shot kill gameplay. I think that's the reason why, a lot of it is designed around the idea of catching a bunch of Pokemon and just having a big team of Pokemon. If you have a big team of Pokemon, you can't have long, prolonged combat like that. If you had one Pokemon, which I actually like this idea, but this is not how the games work. If you had one Pokemon, then yeah, you could do that. You could have a more robust combat system where you're actually, laying down traps, and actually you could translate it into more of an action-based thing where you're actually riding the animal around or something. It's almost like a Monster Hunter Stories 2, for example. I was playing that. On that one, you sort of have a Pokemon, but you have a team of them potentially, so it sort of works like Pokemon in that respect. But you're basically using one or two of them in battle, kind of depends. I'm not going to get into it, but the fact that you're focusing so much on one individual opponent and one individual hero unit, lends itself to making a more robust combat system in that regard. And Arceus... In Arceus, I brought in like my level 82, I think it is right now, Lucario. And I've actually seen it get one-shot killed by like level 20 nothing enemies that just so happen to have the right typing. Because the game does also like to spring combat encounters on you in the story. Like you'll just be walking around, or you'll talk to a character and they're like, alright, fight me! And then you'll just be into a fight that you didn't ask for. And you don't know who it's going to be, so you can't set it beforehand unless you know what that story beat is. And then there's just a Pokemon in front of you that either that can actually outspeed you, depending on what you're using, or you at least don't one-shot kill, or maybe you didn't bring something that was opposed to that exact typing, because your Pokemon team is usually a complete mess, because you're waiting on shinies and alphas, which you can't get access to yet. It's oh my god, it's just such a fucking mess. But anyways, point being, one-shot kills rule the day in Arceus. This is how it works. And even if you have a move that is supposedly effective, like not even just normal, just effective, even that will take like 3 or 4 moves against an opponent that's like 20 levels below you to kill them. The game is really, really hedging on you having counters, like these elemental counters. Pokemon is obsessed with this. It's the only thing that really matters. Not to hyperbole it too much, but it really is the thing that you need to worry about. Arceus also likes to make you fight these like grotesquely unfair 3v1s, or sometimes even more than that, where there's one quote-unquote real opponent, then there's like 2 or 3 other ones that have different typings to try to cover as many bases as possible. And even though they're like 20 levels below you or whatever, they still hit like a truck because of this typing thing. So they can kill you in like 2 hits. And the enemies also, even if you encounter an enemy that is a lower level than you, and you're comparable to, like it could be the same exact enemy. Like I'm using a Lucario, I encounter another Lucario. It sometimes will actually hit harder than I hit for no reason other than the game is like really fluffing the stats of all the enemies that you run across, because it really wants to give you some layer of challenge that it doesn't have otherwise. Because the game just comes down to, is your speed higher than the other person? Is your typing going to counter them? And those are really the only 2 things that really matter. The way the Pokemon is designed, I wrote this down, the combat philosophy in the series is almost like your team is a magazine, of expendable bullets, and you fire them once or twice. And all those characters are built to die. Like you can, if you see a opponent that has like fire, and he's like, okay, water, and you bring in your water Pokemon. You fire that water Pokemon once, because you brought them in, and I think there's like U-turn in the game maybe, but I haven't seen an opponent or a Pokemon with it, or I don't even know if that design element exists in this one. It'll probably take at least 1 bit of like minor damage from whatever the secondary typing was on that opponent. But you'll get in that hit that one-shot kills that fire enemy with your water move. But then that Pokemon that you have in there now is now near death. And the other Pokemon that the opponent has gets brought in, and they one-shot kill the Pokemon that you just brought in. And this is how it works. Like, you're meant to try to utilize the resource of your Pokemon before they faint as much as you can to get in, like, not just 1 round of attack, but maybe 2 rounds, if you're lucky. Maybe if you're really good, and you actually pick things just the right way, and the RNG goes in your favor, you'll get in, like, 3 turns of attacks. Woo! And this is sort of how it's designed. And the whole game is just... It's like playing Dead by Daylight and everything orienting around how much time that you spend on generators or something. The whole game is just coming down to how can you best utilize the very limited amount of turns that you get for each Pokemon. And can you get rid of all their Pokemon before you expend your entire magazine of expendable bullet people? This is how Pokemon works. It's always sort of gripe. I just don't like it. There's nothing overtly wrong with it. I just don't like it. Especially since it has almost this sort of a ludonarrative dissonance to it. If you don't know, ludonarrative dissonance is whenever usually it's whenever the story does not reflect what your character actually does. Like your character, whenever you're playing it as a badass and it kills everything, but once you beat the shit out of the boss and don't take any damage, your character suddenly is thrown into a cutscene where they're like, oh, I can't beat him, and then they limp off and they lose. This ludonarrative dissonance. Pokemon sort of has this problem in the sense of Pokemon really likes to play up the idea that Pokemon are our friends. They're sometimes our equals. Sometimes they talk. They actually speak like a human does. Sometimes they're dumb animals. It is not clear what level of... That's part of the reason why I made that stupid Pokemon parody cartoon, is because of that problem. It's not really clear what they are. Are they comparable to human? Are they sometimes? Are some of them... Like Abra, I think, has a comical... like it has an IQ of 100 trillion, like a 10-year-old wrote the Pokedex. So some of them are stated to be smarter than people, but they still live like dumb animals in the woods and like take a shit in a bush and then wander off looking for a mate. But they still have the mental capacity to figure out the cure to cancer, but they don't. And then standing right next to them is another Pokemon that, like, oh, he's been my best friend for 30 years. And he's like, chirp. Then he takes a shit on the ground and then starts sniffing it and licks it because he's a dumb animal. Because he's like a dog. He has intelligence of a dog. There's no clear rule on it. It's just whatever the game wants, or whatever the cartoon or whatever wants it to be. The Pokemon radically change whether they're supposed to be human-like or whether they're just dogs. They're to be cute. The series can't make up its mind. But anyways, they really try to play up the idea that it's this permanent partner. You get it on the start of your journey, you make all these friends, and it's important to be true to your friends and for them to be with you and to just have them be a really integral part of your life, right? Like, that's Pokemon. But in actual Pokemon, the starter that you get is probably going to be trash. Because it's designed to oppose the types that the game is laying out in front of you, it'll usually be pretty good for that until like the mid-game. Then you'll probably throw it in a box and never think about it ever again, because who fucking cares? You'll also like capture hundreds of Pokemon and put them in these little prison balls, and then just throw them into a box and forget that they exist. Because who cares? In the world of Pokemon, they don't care. Like, they just exist to exist. And you'll go through the process of like a Pokemon breeding and training and trading to try to cultivate the perfect Pokemon team. And until you get that team of like perfect IVs and EVs, which thank God that doesn't exist in this game. That's one of the biggest improvements. I would not be playing it otherwise. And maybe you want your team to be full of shinies. Maybe in this game, like Arceus, you want them to be shiny alphas that have perfect effort values, I think is what they call them now. Which thankfully you can raise manually. You can also change their natures on the fly, which is good. But even in the process of doing that, these are not your friends. Like, you're just throwing the ones that you don't want in the garbage until you can find the one that you actually do want. So in my head, the way that this should work, like if I had my own chance to make a Pokemon game, just rewrite the rules of the universe, it would be more like you wouldn't have typings and all this stuff. I'm not going to worry about that. But as far as like the narrative goes, it'd be more like people go and find the Pokemon that they want to, like, that's their friend. Like, they have a team of like 3. That's it. They just get 3. And they don't even use but one of them most of the time. And you might like use the other 2 in different roles. Like one is like a combat role and the other one is, I don't know, fucking administrative or something. I don't know. It does not matter. Just as long as there's like different purposes for why you have a team that's working with you. And just to make sure that you have sort of at least 3 or a slightly smaller group that is like your favorites. Just so that you can have a real roster that you actually do care about. And maybe instead of capturing them for ambiguous reasons, you're like just trying to investigate them. Like, let's make up a story. I'm going to be making this about on the fly. You're like humans that land on a planet. It's an alien planet that has all sorts of weird creatures. Some of them are like basic animal level. Some of them are very highly intelligent, and you can't quite figure out why. So your job is to explore this new world with the help of your new not Pokemon friends. So your mission is not to go out and catch them all. It's to go out and like tag some of them so that you can track them. Watch them so you can see what their behaviors are. Sometimes to protect yourself from them, like get into fights with them, or maybe even sometimes to start your own sort of faux fights with them, like faux, like F-A-U-X, so that you don't actually hurt them, just to try to gain information from them in some capacity. I don't care how, it doesn't matter. Just try to create as many different elements to how you're investigating the sort of science behind them works, so that there's different elements to how the gameplay works. That's the thing that I'm more concerned about. And in the process of doing that, you go out and like track down one specific one that you like the most. And I would allow people to be able to figure out what they like the most early in some way. But more importantly, to have that design be something that they can change. So like even if you're like you pick something that looks like an Eevee at the start of the game, and then later on you realize, oh, I was looking at a list of these things and I didn't notice this one that looks even better than the Eevee one, and you decide that you like a Vulpix or something that looks sort of similar. Maybe you're able to unlock the ability to make your Pokemon into one of those, or to take on its new form or something. And the more that you level them up, the more it like elevates their intellect to be more human-like, to have human-level intelligence. And so, you know, that's part of the story. It's realizing, oh, they're actually both the same thing. Like everything that's on this planet is actually sort of the same organism. It's just that they're filling different roles, and as a result, they become the thing that they need to be. But that's getting too highfalutin, artsy-fartsy. But point being is, I would want it so that if you want your Pokemon that's not a Pokemon to have a different nature, to have different EVs, to have different moves, whatever the dumb bullshit is, as far as the narrative goes, you can do that because you can just say, well, due to the way that these things work, they can become whatever they need to be. So if you want it to be a different color, it becomes a different color. If you want it to be a different design, it becomes a different design. If you want it to have different moves, it has new moves. You can do whatever you want to. It just takes a little bit of time, it takes work, and the methodology that you employ within the design of the game to get you to that point completely changes based on what you need it to be at that time. So there's no issues. So you don't need to capture thousands of Pokemon and breed them and throw them in the garbage and have some of them be implied to eat the other ones. I'm not quite, like there's not really animals in Pokemon most of the time. There's only Pokemon. And some of them do say that they live off a diet of the other Pokemon, even though they're like shown to be friends sometimes. It's really fucked up. I don't know. Anyways, I would much prefer it to be something like that. And have the combat be more, you have your partner, and you actually do participate in the fights in some way, not in a direct combative role, but more as a support role that's like making the bigger decisions. And have the combat be something a little bit more nuanced, like not have it be turn-based. I think the whole, like I actually do not mind turn-based combat too much, but only whenever you're doing something that is not competitive. The moment that you try to make it competitive, then it just comes down to speed. Like that's the only thing that matters, and that's Pokemon's problem. is since it is pure turn-based and numbers matter more than anything else, the math of when you get to move, and because it is one-shot kill in many cases, that's the thing that ruins the combat for me. If you made it to where if it was had more of an action element to it, where you were having to control the character in some capacity, you can't do this shit on like the Game Boy Advance, so obviously you wouldn't be able to do it then. So I'm not sure how you would do it in that respect. I guess you would have to. I guess you would have to have different elements to the combat that are not one-to-one. So instead of your character just standing in front of another character, it would be like you have to do different goals that are not directly to just do damage to the enemy. You'd have to do something like that. Anyways, it doesn't actually matter. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Point being, I would just really love to get out of that, because I think that's the thing that really kills the way that these games are designed. As far as Pokemon goes, things that it can change, because obviously all that stuff, there's no way they're going to ever do anything even remotely like that. I really like it if they do simple things like, and these are also things they'll never do, but they really should, like shinies, for example. I don't care how you catch them, it does not matter to me. I would like it if you can make anything into a shiny. Like, this is something that we can work on. Like, the whole idea of Pokemon, you start with your starter, and it's your best friend, and you do your journey together. I would love to make it so that that actually means something. I would love to get away from pick 3 starters. Like, we pre-selected these 3. No, just... I would love it if you, like, borrow a starter from someone, and then if you like it, you can go find it. And if, even... Like, you can otherwise, go look for the specific Pokemon that you want, and then whenever you find it, you're like, okay, this is my partner. As far as how you would be able to do that, because that would include a library of every single Pokemon that's available in that game. So how they would do that, I don't know. It would have to be sort of like an initial tutorial hunt thing, where you like look at a library of all of them or something. It wouldn't work the way that Pokemon is designed right now, but it's something that I would like to give more thought to. But they'll never do it either way, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, I would love them to be able to focus on that. And have it so that you can change... Like they're already doing this in Arceus. This is one of the reasons why it's getting praised. Instead of IVs and EVs, which you could not change before... Well, aside from... you can change IVs. Now there's effort values, which have replaced it. You can improve those, and they are retroactive. So even if you're like at level 80, it doesn't matter that you didn't start doing this at level 1. So that you can improve the Pokemon to be the best that they can be whenever you want to. And now you can change their natures as well. They're doing that. That's also an improvement. That's also something that they have improved a lot on. Before, in the past, there were huge hard asses about it because... God, I remember like even 15 years ago getting into arguments with people online about how they should be able to like do away with EVs and IVs and do something else. Something that you can improve whenever you want to. And some people that were Pokemon fans were like, no, you fucking overpower the game. You don't want to work for anything, fucking pussy. Having conversations like that with idiots online. And the same thing in regards to like shinies, for example. Like I would love to be able to make a character shiny. Like if you pick at the start of the game, like you want your partner to be an EV or whatever. If it doesn't show up as a shiny, which I guess it should never show up as a shiny, then you can just make it a shiny in some capacity. And I would like for the shiny thing to not change their color. I would like it to just make the Pokemon like sparkle a little bit, maybe glow, whatever sort of effect you need to put on it. And to have, this is the most important thing I want for Pokemon, is to be able to make the fucking things a variety of colors in some way. Which would include what the old shiny color was. And some of those shinies, especially the very early ones, because they were just moving the color code a little bit. Like Espeon is like bright green. It's like really hideous. But I would love it so that, like if you had a Pikachu you could have a Pikachu that had like a minor color pattern on it. Maybe it was like spotted in some way. And maybe you could have a slightly orange-looking Pikachu. Maybe even a red Pikachu. Or one that was like a little tinted down, so it almost had sort of a weird green tint, but that would be as far down as you could go. So there's like a limited color palette that makes it clear that these are animals that have a wider variety than them all looking like the same goddamn thing every single time. And that's something you can very easily do, no matter the game. As long as it has like in the Game Boy versions, you couldn't do this. It didn't have the memory for it. That's the reason why that shinies were these incredibly garish-looking colors, is because they had limited palette that they could work with, and they were just moving it, like they were just moving the number barely to make something that was different looking, and it was clear that it was new. But these days, there's no excuse for that. There's no reason to do it other than tradition. It's always... I'm beating my chest. It's always been that way. I hate the logic of it's always been that way. It's tradition. Ugh. Anytime someone brings up tradition, I just want to shove it up their butt. Anyways, you get the idea. I would love for Pokemon to be something that is more about building up what you start with, and what you start with being your decision. Not so much all this RNG nonsense of, like, even if you decide, even if it's a game where you do start with an Eevee. Like, I think... Let's Go Eevee, I think, is the one that did this. You start with an Eevee, say for example, and you decide in your head, my favorite thing is I want a shiny blue Umbreon. You know, that's what their shiny looks like. And this is assuming that the shiny thing also changes, that you can make them shiny. And of course, you start the game and you just get a generic, like male Eevee. Let's say you want to change its gender too. I don't fucking care. Actually, at the start of the game, you should just be able to ask, do you want it to be male or female? Like, I don't know why they do this whole 12.5% bullshit. That's fucking stupid. We don't want them to be able to breed them. Who fucking cares? Who cares? Stop doing that. Anyways. That's another old problem that's been inherited by the new games. Well, they have to have bad gender ratios so that we can control their population, because we don't want the breeding to get too bad, because then people will trade them. Just stop doing it. 50-50. Across the board. 50-50. Just stop doing that. Anyways. Pick the gender at the start, or pick its sex, I should say. You decide you want that Umbreon. I would love it so that even you can unlock different forms for it. So if you decide, well, I decided, even though I made it into an Umbreon, I want to roll it back and I want to make it into a Espeon or something. You can do that. And you say, instead of it being a shiny blue Umbreon, I want it to be now what would be a good color? Like a white, like a pure white Espeon. You can do that. Like, I would love for that to be a reality, where you could just do things like that. And you can turn that thing into a competitive Pokemon. And here's another thing. There are lots of Pokemon that are essentially the exact same thing. Like, in terms of, they have the same typing, they have the same general premise, that they're like a special attacker with high speed or something. But they're different, so people just pick whichever one has the highest speed value. Because that's the thing that matters more than anything. I'd love it if, like, stat things like that were more about unlocking a role. And sure, maybe one Pokemon, it's like finding a rare weapon in a game, and the thing that has the stats is not the weapon itself, it's like a gem. So you take the gem out of the weapon, and then you put in your little piece of shit broadsword that you really like the look of, and it becomes that weapon effectively. Like you're just doing a model swap. It's like Transmog. I would love it so that you could do that competitively as well. Where it was not so much, oh, this is a Leafeon, so I know this is going to be a trash team comp or something. Whereas if the person brings out a Leafeon, it would be more like, you see something at the bottom of the screen that lists what their role is and what their rank is, or something like that, where it says they're like each of them would have to have a name, I guess. So it'd be like they're like a rank 10 special attacker or something. And you realize, oh, this is someone that has found the legendary in the game that is the special attack high speed legendary, and they have used that Pokemon to teach their lesser Pokemon that they started the game with the best role for that role. Like they have given them those stat increases. So now that Pokemon effectively has legendary stats, but just looks like a Leafeon. That way, that's how Pokemon works anyways. It's just typing and stat readouts. And the only other real distinction would be what moves that they're allowed to have. But even if you allowed them to just do whatever in that regard too, it wouldn't matter. Like the whole reason for that in the first place was to try to make the Pokemon more unique from one another, which if you're doing it this way, it wouldn't matter anyways. But anyways, I'm sure lots of people that are actually Pokemon fans are just getting really riled up and angry at me in the first place. You don't fucking play it. That's sorry. That's how people that disagree with me talk. Sorry I do that. I just really get a kick out. I hope you guys know I'm not actually being serious about that. But I'm sure that people that are more ardently into what Pokemon is disagree with me completely, don't want it to ever be something like that. That's fine. I'm just saying is, from my perspective, I really wish that it had more leeway in what you were able to do with it, both narratively, in terms of design, personalization, and competitive. Like, if that was open-ended, but it was still something you had to work for, I would like that. Because that's usually the argument against these things is, well, then if you can just have it whenever you want to, then there's nothing to do. If you don't have to catch all the Pokemon, then there's nothing to do. If you don't have to farm for shinies, then there's nothing to do. If you don't have to breed for perfect IVs, then there's nothing to do. But if you do still have to do all those things, but you can just inherit them onto the thing that you started the game with, then there's no issue. That's what I want. Anyways, Arceus is a step on the path to actually doing that. Alright, so anyways, I think that's all I wanted to actually say. And I talked for an hour and a half. Lovely. That is lovely. What's wrong with me? Completely lost control of my life. Okay, so in the background, I hope you guys have enjoyed these time-lapse drawings. I hope I still have those. I do. Because I went into my renders and I made sure I did not delete them. Because I actually thought about it, and then I thought, no, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. So here's that picture of Jinx. I would love to have talked about Arcane. That is actually a good show, but we just never got around to it. We might in the future, although I kind of doubt it. The reason why I drew Vex as well, because I was not happy with the Jinx drawing. Because again, I was just not feeling up to the task. And the Vex one even also has same sort of weird geometric issues. But now that I've showed them in a video, I can actually upload them onto Newgrounds and Twitter and have lots of retweets that make me no money. Yay! Maybe one day I can transition to doing TikToks and make no money that way too. Why do people make TikToks? Why do people bother with that? You don't make any money. Like, there's no monetization on TikTok. I'm very popular. People watch my It doesn't matter. You're nobody. Like, you're not making a living for yourself. Why are you doing that to yourself? Sorry, anyways. Alright, hope you enjoyed my return to YouTube in this gigantic fucking annoying video where I ramble endlessly about a series that I obviously don't know anything about and should just shut my mouth about. Because someone might hear me and, like, try to improve the game series in some way, and that's unacceptable. There's a couple more things I wanted to mention. I was originally going to stream a little bit of myself playing the game, but of course my internet went out. I was making a hilarious, suspicious team of, let's see. I'm still working on it, but right now because Shiny Lucario is ugly as fuck. So right now I'm using a Mega Lucario, or an Alpha Lucario, and that's the only member of my team that is like locked in, where I'm like, yeah, this one. I'm aiming for a Weevil eventually, a Shiny Weevil probably, like all these I want to be like shiny alphas if I can manage. Aside from like one or two because the height gets kind of weird. Like Gardevoirs are massive. Like they're fucking enormous whenever they're alphas. So I might just aim for a shiny Gardevoir. I've gotten quite a few shiny Ralts already, but they're all male. And I can't have that because that's the joke. So Gardevoir, Weevil, Lucario. I would love to get a Ninetales, but the one that I want is like a shiny Alolan version. The game does give you one, but it does not allow you to farm for them. So whichever one that you got, that is it. And mine is very small, and it looks like a very tiny horse. It's ridiculous. I'll fill out whatever my team is with an Eevee of some sort. Espeon and I think Jolteon have really ugly shinies, so with those I'll probably just do an alpha. And I already have one alpha female Eevee for the joke, so I'll probably turn that one into an Espeon. The other ones I would love to be shiny alphas, but that's like a 1 in 1 million chance of getting those things, so that'll probably never happen. Also, the Hisuian Zoroark that I drew right now, and I guess it'll be on the screen by now. Really like the look of those. I have a Mega. I keep doing that. I have an Alpha right now, but of course aiming for a shiny. The shiny of those are really beautiful looking because they're blue as opposed to this sort of pink cotton candy look. I actually like the look of both of them, but I kind of prefer the blue. Lopunny, I would like to have a Lopunny, but Lopunny is just really kind of garbage in this game. I don't know what it is. Their moves are terrible. The moves that you can actually put on Pokemon in Arceus are really restrictive. Because you can't really teach them anything. You can just go to a trainer that has a very limited pool of them, and the sort of meta moves that they've always had in all the games are not there. There are sometimes moves that are sort of replacements for them that are new, that are not quite as good. So it's very strange. Like, I'm not sure what the meta for it is going to end up being, but it's not multiplayer, so it doesn't really matter. But point being, I'm not really enjoying using Lopunny, but yeah, I might just throw it in there. Luxray and Roserade, however, are also suspicious options that I could include for the joke. But I was wanting to do like a funny series of streams where I could watch people join in and notice that my my entire team is female and all of them are like gigantic, shiny, like listings on Rule 34 that have way too many entries. Some sort of joke like that. I thought that'd be fun. But that's what I've been doing in the process of gathering all my notes for this video. The other thing I wanted to mention, aside from the fact that I'm a hilarious pervert, is I had completed the script for the sequel to the Pokemon cartoon. That is done. Unfortunately, I don't know what to do with it, because lately there has been a lot of aggression from Japanese companies, especially one of the subsidiaries that actually controls the Pokemon anime, I think, is like Susuo or some. I forget what its name is. But they have gotten really aggressive about pursuing actual legal action against YouTubers. There's been like 1 or 2 cases of that, where they are actively attempting to just strike people off of YouTube that in some cases don't even, like, they're not even doing anything really. They just have like a parody video, or they just have a like gameplay of them playing the game, or in some cases. The most famous case was a guy that actually was like doing reviews of each of the episodes, which even by American standards might not be within transformative like legal rights as far as fair use goes. But of course, Japan famously doesn't have almost any legal fair use laws whatsoever. And of course, there's the whole culture of, if you are accused of something, you did it, we're going to find you guilty 99% of the time. So don't do any crimes. There's that mentality as well, so laws are probably never going to improve in that country. Not until their older generations all die off anyways. Kind of the same problems that we have here. But point being, I don't know what to do in regards to the animation. because I don't want it to be like my last animation ever, because some Japanese company gets in their head that this perverted Pokemon parody video that you're not supposed to take seriously is infringing on our franchise in some way that only makes sense to them, and they go after me legally, which, of course, you don't have to respond to it at all, but it would absolutely result in my YouTube channel getting taken down, which I guess wouldn't be a huge loss. I've been trying to transition more into streaming, but I can't do that yet because I don't have the internet that I require for it. And also, I could just start a new channel, I guess, but it's just another thing to deal with. I don't know. Point being, I have the script done, but I don't know what to do. Because like most of the things in my life right now, there's just a lot of real-life complications that are futzing things up because it's 2022. And of course they are. Because everything has to be terrible in this day and age. My mother was actually saying the other day that life has changed a lot in the past 20, 30 years. And most of the time, it's sort of a joke that older people think that things have gotten way worse, but they actually haven't. Things were actually bad when they were kids and they just didn't know it. I think they actually have gotten way worse in the past 30, 40 years. Things were not particularly great whenever I'm very pragmatic, and I'm not really tinged by too much nostalgia or anything. Life was not particularly good for me as a kid, but it has gotten pretty bad. The real world has gotten exceedingly worse as I've gotten older. But I think this is because we're trying to transform our culture in a way that people are not ready for. So I think the good times will come again eventually. It'll just be 50 years from now minimum. So I don't want to have to wait 50 years to make another Pokemon cartoon, but we'll see. Anyways, sorry you guys for not being around. Just a lot has been happening that I can't talk about, but there's been a lot of unfortunate life changes recently. I've had to take on a lot more responsibilities, and hopefully this video was a nice, almost 2-hour long reprieve from whatever's going on in your life as well. Hope I wasn't too annoying with it. It's never my goal to be annoying in these videos. If you like Pokemon as it is, that's fine. Just that's always been my personal miniature grievance with it. Anyways, you get the idea. I'll see you guys next time. I hope that you enjoy your coming 3 months before I release my next video. No, I'm kidding. I've been thinking about doing an LP of maybe Elden Ring whenever it comes out. But that's another thing I've been contemplating because it's a modern FromSoft game, so it's probably going to be more action-focused, probably a little bit more enraging for me personally. And I didn't want that to be the first thing that you see from me in regards to Elden Ring, because I'm not going to be any good at it. I'll just get mad at the video game, and that'll in turn make you angry. So I don't know. And I can't stream it, so I have no idea. That's been my problem lately, is I just don't know. I have lots of ideas on what to do, but I'm not really clear on what step to take just yet. But give me a rough idea of it, I suppose. Let me know what you would want to see from me. Until then, I will continue trying to work as I take care of even more real-life responsibilities than I was handling last time you heard from me. But until next time, guys, thank you very much for tolerating me. Thank you for continuing to support me. I even more so than whenever I first released the Patreon. I cannot tell you how much it means to me that you continue to support me financially, especially in these dire times for everyone. Please take care of yourself and take care of the people that you love. Bye-bye.